there is a thread, a pattern. It's a very particular realization emerging in our latest feedback, and we have to talk about it right now. A lot of you are here, the deep feelers, the emotional sponges, the orchids of this world. You seem to be the primary targets for a storm that doesn't just pass over. It tries to rename the very ground you stand on. You've described it all. You've lived through partners who rewrite history until you can't trust your own eyes. You've dealt with friends who weaponize your secrets the second a conflict arises. You've faced parents who goad you into a panic, and then they calmly point at you as the crazy one. You're haunted. You're exhausted. And you keep asking, why? Why would they choose to be this cruel? Why doesn't my pain move them? We usually call these people toxic. We call them narcissists. But behavioral science has a much more chilling and precise map for this. They are the architects of the dark Tetrad. It is a house where every window is a two-way mirror, and every single door locks from the outside. Today, we are going to peer into the mechanics of their internal world. You know, looking back at these stories, it's heavy, it's uncomfortable. But perhaps that discomfort is exactly where the truth starts to breathe. Let's look closer. When you're dealing with a predatory personality, you make a fatal mistake. You assume you're speaking the same language. But while you're reciting poetry, they're just calculating the cold, hard value of your heart as mere scrap metal. You believe in words. You think if you just find the right way to describe your hurt, they'll have an aha moment and stop. But they won't. The data suggests their internal wiring is built differently. Researchers have mapped out 4 distinct pillars, 4 walls that hold up this dark architecture. The first, narcissism. What makes the narcissist so dangerous is their magnetism. It's social. It's vibrant. They are frequently the most engaging, most persuasive people in the room. But that magnetism? It's nothing but a polished shell. Underneath that exterior is a hollow ego. It's hyper-defensive. If you stop providing the validation they crave, or if you dare to hold up a mirror to their flaws, the charm evaporates. It's gone. It is replaced instantly by a cold, predatory fury that is genuinely unsettling. Second, Machiavellianism. These are the silent puppet masters. A narcissist reacts to the moment to get their fix, but a Machiavellian? They play a game that spans years. They are patient. They are calculated. To them, you aren't a human being with a soul. You are simply an asset on a balance sheet, valuable only as long as you yield a profit. If deception moves them closer to the goal, they will look you in the eye, they will lie, and they won't break a sweat. To this profile, ethics are just a set of rules for lesser people. Third, psychopathy. This is defined by a total lack of impulse control, a complete absence of guilt. They lack the emotional guardrails that keep most of us from causing harm. They engage in behaviors that would paralyze a normal person with anxiety. Why? Because their amygdala, the brain's alarm system, is effectively silent. They live for the immediate thrill. They don't care about the wreckage they leave in your life. And the fourth? Scientists have only recently categorized this one: everyday sadism. This is the most disturbing element of all. It's the key to the cruelty that seems to serve no purpose. The online bullying, the subtle digs, the joy in seeing someone embarrassed. For the sadist, your distress is the reward.
Seeing you break releases a hit of dopamine in their system. They hurt you because, quite literally, it feels good to them. But the question remains, is this a choice, or is it a blueprint? One of the most bitter pills for an empathetic person to swallow is that some of these traits aren't healed by love. They are biological. Studies on twins and behavioral genetics have given us a window into this darkness. Psychopathy, for instance, is heavily rooted in biology. Estimates suggest about 70% of this trait is inherited. These people are often born with a quiet amygdala. They didn't learn to be cold. They were born as a desert, and they expect the rain to apologize for being wet. Machiavellianism, conversely, is a survival code. It's written during a chaotic or neglectful childhood. They learned early. They learned that vulnerability is a death sentence. They learned that control is the only safety. This mix of genetic code and environment creates a personality that is almost entirely resistant to outside influence. Now, we have to talk about how the trap actually works. You've likely asked yourself, how can they know exactly where my buttons are if they don't feel anything? How can they be a monster 1 hour and a soulmate the next? It feels like they have a literal toggle in their brain. According to neuroimaging, they do. It's a phenomenon called empathy dissociation. You see, empathy isn't one thing. It's two separate circuits. There is cognitive empathy. This is the intellectual ability to map out what someone else is thinking. It's how you read a person's intentions. Then there is affective empathy. This is the heart circuit, the ability to actually mirror that pain in your own body. It's what makes your stomach drop when you see a child cry. Most manipulators have Olympic-level cognitive empathy. They are geniuses at reading your micro-expressions. They know your triggers better than your therapist. But they have a total blackout in affective empathy. They recognize your suffering. They just don't feel the sting of it. In fact, fMRI scans show that for those high in psychopathic traits, the feeling part of empathy stays in a default off position. But here's the kicker. They use empathy like a stage light. They can flood you with warmth to get the performance they want. Then, they plunge you into total darkness the moment the curtain falls. During the love bombing stage, they flip the switch. They mirror your light. They simulate a deep soul connection. But it's a simulation. Once they have you locked in, they flip the switch back to off. They didn't use that connection to bond with you. They used it as a map to find your weaknesses. They weren't looking for a partner. They were scouting for a victim. This leads us to a brutal truth. They didn't pick you by accident. These personalities are like sonar. They scan for specific signatures.
Because you are a person of high empathy, high trust, and deep sensitivity, you glow on their radar. They seek out reflector personalities, people who will always search for the good in others, even when it's not there. People who will project their own moral compass onto a person who has no North Star. If you are an egoist, someone who fears taking up space, you are the perfect companion for their expansion. They test the waters early. They'll step over a small boundary just to see if you'll defend it. If you make excuses for them, if you apologize for their bad behavior, you've passed their vetting process. The trap is set. They use a psychological engine called Intermittent Reinforcement. It is the same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. If they were terrible every single day, you'd walk away.
So, they aren't. They give you breadcrumbs. Just enough oxygen to keep you from passing out. So you'll stay in the room while they suck the air back out again. A week of coldness, followed by one night of that intoxicating, perfect version of them. Your brain becomes a dopamine addict. You live in a state of high alert. You are constantly hitting the lever, hoping for the good version to return. This isn't a relationship. It's a biological hostage situation. It is a trauma bond. Once you're tethered, the erasure begins. Gaslighting is their primary weapon. It isn't just lying. It is perspecticide, the systematic murder of your reality. They deny things you saw with your own eyes. They rewrite the narrative of your shared past. They tell you that your memory is failing, that you're too much, that you're imagining the malice. Over time, your brain actually changes. Chronic stress from this abuse shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain that handles memory and facts. Meanwhile, it swells the amygdala. It keeps you in a state of constant, vibrating terror. You end up in a fog. You are physically unable to think clearly enough to plot a way out. After hearing this, you might feel a strange sense of jealousy. You might think, I wish I could be that detached. I wish I could just turn my heart off and win for once. It's easy to feel that way. Our culture often rewards these traits. We see the fearless CEO, the social climber who never feels awkward. It looks like a biological cheat code. But you have to see the invoice for that armor. If life is just a game of who dies with the most toys, then sure, they're winning. But if life is a human journey, they are profoundly disabled. Because of their brain chemistry, they are trapped on a hedonic treadmill. They have to hunt for bigger and bigger hits of power, or risk, or cruelty, just to feel a spark of life. They are running a race with no finish line, and they are biologically locked out of the other side of human existence. They can never know the quiet, warm glow of oxytocin. They will never know the deep peace of a safe embrace or a moment of true trust. They are chemically barred from tranquility. Every friendship is a contract. Every love is a heist. They never feel truly seen because they can never risk being vulnerable. There's a classic psychological metaphor for this. They know the lyrics to the song, but they can't hear the melody. So please, do not envy the machine. It's fast, but it's hollow. Now, what is the point of all this data? I'm painting this picture in high contrast for a reason. You have been trying to fix a hardware problem with software. You've been bringing communication and empathy to a fight where the opponent only recognizes control. You are projecting your beautiful, feeling heart onto someone who literally does not have the equipment to process it. Accepting this? That is how the spell breaks. When you look at them now, change your perspective. Stop looking at them with heat, with anger or longing. Anger is just another thread connecting you to them. Instead, look at them with clinical observation. When they explode, see it as a narcissistic collapse. When they deceive, recognize the Machiavellian play. When they enjoy your tears, see the sadistic dopamine spike. Understand that their actions are not a reflection of your value. It is simply the output of a machine designed to function this way. You weren't targeted because you were broken. You were targeted because you were a high-value target. You have the warmth they can only mimic. But that warmth, it belongs to you. Although, when you really think about it, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to fix them. It's to realize you don't have to. You know, maybe that's the real ending here. But what do you think?